You can message the whole group, or you can have an opportunity to chat with one another. Just so you know, the chat will be available about 10-15 minutes after we stop, and you can use that as an opportunity to network as well. As you know, most of our stuff at ABA, when we do, it's networking and developing that networking opportunity. So, and we'll have more information about that in a little bit. And before we get started, I really want to take a moment and acknowledge our staff, V, Miguel, and Bianca. I think for us to adapt to sort of the online and kind of education and networking stuff, we too have to adapt. And I think that's sort of the reason why we're doing this. But luckily, I think for us, we also discovered there are, like the National Asian Chamber out of DC, some of the local groups. We also looked at OneOC as a source to help other nonprofits to help us through these things. And I say that because I want to let you guys know that it's also a good time to turn to your community-based organization as a resource in terms of getting help. As you can tell from the poll, some people are not even online yet, some people are not affected, so we're kind of all over the place. But as people do this, as this is sort of our new normal, this is what we're kind of working towards. So, you know, in our series, or if you call it our series, but we're always trying to work through this virus. Of course, we want to take every opportunity we get to reduce the spread of infections, of course, increase that social distancing, and help flatten that curve. But we do this by working remotely, such as what we're doing. But not all businesses may know how to work remotely. Hence, that's why we want to enable you and to help you not only from an employee point of view, from an employer point of view, so you too can lead remotely. So that's what's happening today. We're very fortunate to have Kelly with us. Kelly, we'll hear from her, and Donna and Roger. So Kelly will speak a little bit from an employer's point of view and how she leads her team remotely. Donna will talk about from an employee's perspective, and then we'll have some solutions. Roger will share that with us as we go forward with this. So with that in mind, oh, maybe I should start in the beginning. Here we go. Kelly, Kelly, are you on with us? If you can turn on your mic.
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, there we are. This is working. So good, glad you're here. So a quick little introduction. Kelly is the founder and CEO of IQ Logic. And prior to her company, she also founded a Mission Road pharmacy where she worked as a pharmacist and ran, I guess, number of pharmacies for a while. You may or may not know, she holds 3 patents on blockchain power and anti-counterfeit technology. She has a doctorate degree from pharmacy from the University of San Francisco. I don't know if she wants me to share, but I'm going to share anyways. She's one of the 3 in North America that's a finalist for the Cartier Women's Initiative. The initiative is to aim for women business owners that has a social environmental impact. Very excited for it. This is a global competition, and she's one of the 3 from North America. And hopefully it'll be good because the winner will be announced later on this month on June 15th. How do you feel about that, Kelly?
I feel really honored and humbled. There were many women entrepreneurs that we've gotten to know over the past few months, and then just a wonderful team from Cartier's women's initiatives globally. And so it's been wonderful just to get to know these people and the goals they're trying to achieve. So I'm just so happy and thankful to be a part of the group.
Yeah, I think that's great. So let's kind of jump into it right away. I think it helps to give some folks some context about your company and how you manage your staff and things like that. If you can just probably briefly talk a little bit about your company in the background, and also a number of staff that you have.
So our company is, we are focusing on IT healthcare services, particularly providing and combating counterfeiting, and then with special focus on forensic quality of track and trace. With the recent COVID-19 pandemic, we have tried, we've been working on contact tracing solution, a unique solution that protects the privacy of the users, as well as we have partnered with one of our advisors on the ideologic team. He is one of the very big founder of ventilators in Japan. So we have worked and have partnered with the company in Japan to work on distributing and manufacturing um, ventilators and machineries.
So you must be really busy right now. Can you share a little bit about like how big is your team and how many staff you have, and maybe share a little bit where they're located?
Yes, so we are located globally, but our strong presence, of course, is in Northern and Southern California. We also have sales force in various states like New York, Pennsylvania, Louisiana, and right now we have I think 22 plus staff and consultants and so forth working. Hopefully we will be able to hire more to help us with the growth.
Yeah, and I think no matter the size of like the staff, like I guess how do you keep them engaged with the sort of your mission? Well, I guess it's not mission as a for-profit entity, but what you guys want to see, what the problems you guys trying to solve. How do you engage with the staff from most? I guess like if we could just talk first about locally in North America.
So we have basically we've used teleconference since the very beginning of the company because we've been located all over. And so we've used many different types of, the GoToMeeting and all, Zoom, everything, WebEx, Microsoft Teams. So we have we talk several times a day, basically. And so we're used to it. So this pandemic isn't new to what we have been doing.
Do you have some kind of schedule with them, or is it on an ad hoc, like as needed basis?
Mostly schedule, but sometimes also if we need something and we need to get on quickly, we do get on and share.
So how do you know? How do you know like what they're doing, what they're supposed to be doing? So I know some smaller operations, right? They're probably a little bit watching not be the right word, but they're engaged with their staff on a normal basis. But as they trying to go remotely, I'm assuming, do you give them some kind of big general ideas how they need to function, or how do you deal with that, like their tasks?
Yes, so we try many different types, but I think Microsoft Teams is really good because it has all even it has task assignment. So we would assign, and then it's more like a trust system, and all the staff, they have been very they would update us, and it's been working out well. They know, everyone kind of knows. Sometimes we forget because there's so many things to do, so we sort of remind each other, and we see the progress because then we have notes, we have all the information by notebooks, by notes, very methodical within the Teams, Microsoft Teams. Even after we end the conference call, it's all in there, so we can go and check, and it could remind us. So and everyone has really reminded each other. So it's been good. We can track the progress of the work as well.
Oh, that's good. So could you talk a little bit about the challenges that you face with your team?
The challenges.
Is there any challenges of working remotely?
I think it's always wonderful if we have a chance to meet in person, like hug and stuff like that, but it is a challenge when it is far. But we've gotten used to it, and we have I think the most important thing is to find a solution, the remote solution that your team thinks is best for what you're doing. I think whatever it may be, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, WebEx, whichever you think would be best, and then everyone sort of gets familiarized with that, then I think it's good.
Have you
So
ever had an experience? I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, yeah.
You
So
finish.
initially we were looking at various tools over the 2.5 years, and we tried different ones until we got, comfortable with one, and
Mm.
we stick with it. But that is a challenge too, definitely.
Just to figure out the right software, conference software,
Yes.
right? That is in itself. But what if, and I'm going to push just one more time. I'm going to try to push a little bit further in terms of like, if they are not engaged, if you find one of the staff that is not engaged, is there things that you have in place to get in more, to encourage them more?
I think we just text pick up the phone and call.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure. Just a regular check-in. Okay, that makes sense.
just like normally, like in the office.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So
Well, it's good. Any successes that come out? I know. So I guess one of the things it seems like, right? Because as a manage a team in New York, and you may not be able to fly there all the time in different parts of the country. Can you share some maybe insights about is there a better way of doing things like that?
um, I think just to talk to the staff regularly,
Okay.
understand every individual is different, and sort of try to empathize each of the staff's situation. And I think by doing that, they know that you really care, and
Okay.
you work with each one individually. I think everyone has strengths and weaknesses, just like we all do, right?
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, I think encouragement and just get to know what are the strengths and really encourage that would be a good thing.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize that. I think that's a great point, right? So to reach out to them, to show support during this time, sometimes for the staff, I think that's a really good takeaway from this. Any other advice that perhaps you can offer other small businesses who are transforming their staff to be online now?
I think the automatic sort of like reminder on the task that are due, I think those are very important too. So like if you have a system that would set in place, and I think Microsoft Teams absolutely does, like you assign the task and then it comes back and remind whoever you assigned and yourself that this task is due if it hasn't already been accomplished. And then it sort of puts everyone in check and see the progress in place. I think that's important, especially you have many staff, and then different person is handling different projects, and you as the business owner may forget. So I think daily reminder of the task would be one of the key, and that has helped me.
Okay, that's fantastic. Any other things, any parting words, any last word of wisdom, perhaps, for other as they trying to figure this out?
I just wanted to say that it is such a challenging time, and I just hope every one of us uh, stay healthy, and and find ways, because I think for businesses it is very difficult, especially small businesses, right, to how to get out of this and even become stronger. So I think in some ways it gives us some time to reflect and sort of be agile and sort of see
Right.
how adapt to this new, the changes. And so that gives us some time to also reflect on ours as well. So.
That's great. I think you're absolutely right, right? I think we still have tasks, we still have things that we want help with, right? As our businesses are growing. And I think by kind of carving those out and having them ready and communicate that efficiently is really important takeaway. But I really want to thank you for your time. Welcome to stay on the call, I think, in terms of some of the Q&A. But thank you very much, Kelly. Appreciate your perspective on this.
Thank you, Adrian. Everyone.
Great. So next we have from a employee point of view, we're very nice. It was very nice to have Donna, who is currently, well, she's always been from the Bay Area in Northern California. She's the Vice President of Supplier Diversity and Development for MUFG, Union Bank. I gotta say that better, Donna, I apologize. She's an expert though in supply diversity and supply chain management in regulated industry like energy and banking, heavily regulated. So I think that's also task and challenging task in itself. Also, in full disclosure, she's also the vice chair of ABA's Advisory Council, and thank you for your leadership there. And most of you may or may not know, I don't think you do, Donna loves golf, fishing, camping, and DIY projects. But I think last we talked, you were doing some kind of restoration project to build something. What was that you were trying to restore?
I am. I actually purchased a trailer for, it was maybe $500-600, and I'm actually turning it into a wine and champagne trailer where it'll be kind of a self-serve, and you can just pull the little pour spouts, and half of it'll be like wine or sparkling wines, and then the other half will be like craft brew beers, because everyone wants a little bit of both. So I'm working on it. It's a slow in process, and then of course COVID hit, so it's kind of at a standstill and just taking up room in my garage.
And the reason I brought that up is because I think it's awesome, right? Because I think a lot of people are turning to entrepreneurship, and I feel like that is something it's always good to do. I know currently you work for a big corporation, but I think it's a personal thing. I think to get out of our, to I guess foster the environment, foster our economy more, entrepreneurship will be big coming out of this. But having said that, let's come back a little bit to talk and kind of gain some perspective. And maybe you can share a little bit about your background in terms of what you do for the bank.
Okay, so I manage the supplier diversity program for Union Bank, and Union Bank is committed to just the economic vitality of the communities we service, and it means something so much to me because I am a very big proponent of supplier diversity and supporting the local businesses within the community. So I get the very big honor to speak with smaller companies and diverse companies and help them to grow their business, whether it's contracting with the bank or finding other opportunities. I enjoy every call that I have with suppliers in trying to help them with their businesses. So it's supplier diversity. My background, I've been doing it for the last 13 years. I came from a environmental services industry and moved over into the banking industry. And I haven't been in the banking industry since I was in college. So it's definitely a big change, but very welcome.
I'm sure there's a lot of transferable skills that you do, because it's, I think in supply diversity space, it's all about helping some of the folks who are overlooked. So number one, we want to appreciate you doing that. So I know that you've been kind of working remotely prior to the stay-at-home mandate that's been happening. So could you kind of share a little bit, what is the arrangement with you and with Union Bank? Can I say that? It's okay to say Union Bank, right? Your employer.
Correct, that's fine.
That's fine.
For sure. So prior to me taking the role on with Union Bank, Lana, as you guys know, she also worked from home. She did that for, I believe, 15 plus years, and in her 40 plus years with the bank. So the role really pretty much just transferred over, and I was allowed to work from home as well. So it was always in my arena to be able to do that, thankfully.
Okay. And so can you share a little bit about your structure? Like, do you go in, do you check in, or kind of talk a little bit about that?
So I am very, very fortunate to have an extra room in my house to set up as an actual office. It is very dedicated to just my office. So I have the ability to be able to open the door as if I'm actually going to the office. I jokingly talk about my commute and how grueling it is to get down the hallway, with all of the traffic of, the dog in the way, or I have to make the stop to get coffee and breakfast. So I'm very, very fortunate to be able to close that door, whether that's, walking in and leaving everything at the door behind me, or walking out and leaving everything inside of my office.
So do you check in, which is very jealous of, okay? But I think we're all kind of doing that in some respects. But do you need to check in with your supervisors, or is there a structure around that, or going into the office?
Oh, yes.
Go there? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So prior to the pandemic, I actually would visit the office, San Francisco or in Oakland, once a month. person because I felt that it was very necessary for me to have the camaraderie with my other teammates and other colleagues within the bank. Outside of that, I have a standing call with my supervisor and our team. We have two different calls. One, I have a one-on-one with Richard, and then we have a team call, and that's a standing call every week, and we have that every week. So Richard, it is a lot of structure.
So Richard, you mentioned earlier, he is a person, so people may not know, I kind of know, but he's the person you answer to, or you just check in with him, your supervisor. If you will.
Yes. So Richard is the director of the Supplier Diversity Program and Community Outreach for the bank. Got it. So and I report to him.
Yeah. So once a month.
No, I apologize. I'm sorry. I need to make sure that we're clear so we know who we're talking about here.
But it's good. We're just you and I are just having a conversation. That's good though. That's all right. So that's good. You check in, make sure it's good, some camaraderie there. So in that respects, when you guys do have calls, is it a video call versus just a conference call? How is that like?
It really depends on what it is that we're talking about. Our standing one-on-one is typically just a regular phone call. We have it set up and we use the WebEx conferencing so that way we can make sure that we are able to follow up with our notes and action items. And then the following week, we talk about those action items for the previous week and then what we have upcoming. So it is a very structured call, and we talk about very specific things that need to happen. And I enjoy it. It actually helps me a ton. It helps me a lot with the work-life balance.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit more? Is it like once a week? Is there a certain set time you always do it, or is it as needed?
Yes, it is. It's a standing call. We have it every Tuesday between 10:30 and 11:45. So it's usually about 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes that call might last us 5 minutes if we really truly don't have much to talk about, and depending on how busy our week or month is. But it's we talk about every action that we have to make sure that we're taking care of these things, all of the events, all of the community-based organizations that we participate in. So one, we need to have the visibility because Richard and I, as you know, we kind of tag team many different events, and we want to make sure that we have coverage at all of them. So those are basically a lot of the conversations that we have.
Fantastic. So thank you for that. So I know so I think it seems like you're set up at home. You have an extra room to get to. It seems like you're kind of in that environment, right? And I think sometimes that physical environment where you're at can help with mentally, right? To like, hey, I'm at work now. I need to focus on what I need to do. But because it's so close, how do you know to like turn it off? How do you know to like, because people are still going to try to find that balance. From your experience, what do you recommend? How do we kind of walk away, I guess, so we can be normal, more insane?
So, it's so interesting that you asked this question because my prior role working for the environmental services firm, I always pretty much worked remotely. It wasn't a dedicated work from home situation, but I was out in the field a lot and visiting client sites. So I was really basically working remotely from that hotel or from my car. So I very rarely was ever home. And it was really hard to turn it off. Some of those projects go through the night, and some of those projects are early morning and require you to be there at certain times. And there was a lot of driving and a lot of traveling going on, and there really was no work-life balance. This situation with the bank, because I have the opportunity to be able to close that door, I look at it exactly like that. When it's time for me to go to work, I open that door and I leave all the personal stuff outside of that door and I just focus on my work. When it's time for me to go home, then I close that door behind me and I turn off that computer or turn everything off, and I leave that in that office and I go about and have that work-life balance. I take breaks when I need them because I need the fresh air. I am very fortunate also to have a dog who needs breaks. So it's easy to say, okay, let me take a little 15-minute break and go get some fresh air and take them out. Exactly. I take the lunch breaks as I need them. And what I have found since the COVID is I'm taking more advantage of the things that are online with stretching, standing up and stretching, or online exercises and free workouts that I've been able to take, challenges like on your Fitbit or some of the Map My Fitness apps. I take advantage of those and even work with some other colleagues, and we join and have little challenges that we have going on just so that we can keep moving, because it's
That's
necessary
great.
for us to do that. And with regards to mental health, the bank is really good about making sure that we are all engaged still with work and checking to see how we're doing, and the things that, you know, it's really hard to stay still and be still. And some people ask the question of, well, you know, you already work from home, so this is something that you're used to. Sure, yes, the work from home aspect I am very used to. Being confined to not being able to go out and go shopping or go out and go for a run with a whole bunch of other, you know, or go to the
Right.
gym. Those
Right.
things are challenging in and of itself. And you become, you know, almost, you could easily become depressed. You could easily have a lot of personal things, anxiety. So you have to find that balance and just step outside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
So,
I have the ideal situation.
yeah, no, that's great. So, but if you can offer one things to improve on with your current situation, and if Richard he's not here, so it's okay, and we won't tell him. But if there's one thing you can improve on, because I think it's good that we at least know, and other you know, business owners may know, right? If there's one thing that you can improve on in your current situation, what would that be?
You know, I think Kelly hit the nail on the head when it was about knowing your employees and knowing what triggers that you have to make sure that they're still engaged and caring about what it is that they want out of life, not just, you know, with their career, but what they want out of life. Because in these unprecedented times, we have to be a little more engaged and actually have to be a little more personable to understanding and making sure that we're all succeeding as a team, right?
Right.
So I think that it takes a lot of that in being that example for your team. You know, Richard is very hands off as a manager. He's not a micromanager by any means. With Richard, it's you know, hey, Donna knows what exactly it is that she needs to get done, and she gets the work done. And if she doesn't, then, you know, then we have a problem. We have to have a conversation about that. But I also know that he has a very open door policy, and it's easy for me to reach him and just say, hey, you know what, I just want to vent about this.
That's great.
So I think that if there's anything to improve on, it's just, you know, just making sure that door is always open for the employee to be able to have the conversations that they need to have.
And good thoughts. Last thing I have, let's just, I kind of saying the same thing. So maybe there's some parting words that you have, maybe advice perhaps for other employers that you observe. I know the last one you've mentioned, kind of checking in and supporting the employee itself. I think that's a good one. Is there anything others that maybe you want to share with others in terms of advice for these employers?
I think that basically is I can't help but to reiterate it in any more than that is we are all in this together, and we will all get through this together. And I think that's just the most important key here, is that we just have to stand strong and know that this too shall pass.
Well, thank you. Very good. We certainly do need to come together and stand strong with this. So thank you very much for your time. I'm going to move on.
Thank you for having me.
I don't see, I would normally get you a round of applause, but maybe people can do their cool icon as they do on here and do that little hand clapping thing as well. Or if they're on video, they can virtually do it. And I think there's a way to do it on here so you can get those as well. Anyways, let's move on, if we may, to Mr. Roger. Not that he has a neighborhood or nothing like that. Hey, Roger, how you doing?
I'm good, Dennis. How are you?
I'm good. Let me just go a quick little welcome. He is the Chief Business Relationship Officer for May June. But as far as I know, Roger, he's always been a business development person. And obviously he's really good at business relationship. Let me be very clear on that. And part of his success, because I know he works very hard at developing those relationships. He He's always there early. He's always staying late, really engaging and not an in-your-face hard sales kind of a guy, just very like, let me try to solve your problems kind of a guy. But I know Roger because he's the bank shot baller. I'm giving you that name, by the way, Roger.
Thank you.
And I think many of you already may know him because he's sort of the voice for ABA. So straight out of UCLA, Roger Chang, everybody. Hey.
Thanks, Dennis, for the introduction.
You got it. Hey, maybe because it's a new company, new gig, I think if you can just kind of help us understand a little bit about your background and maybe what you do and your new company.
Sure. So I've been in the IT industry for about 13 years now. Started with June, January 1st of this year. June is a technology solutions provider. So we do all kinds of stuff from software, web developments, IT safety solutions, hardware, IT infrastructure. You kind of name it, we kind of do it. Currently, we're focusing a lot on cybersecurity. That's definitely something we're working on. And in this particular, what was that?
Very much needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And also in this landscape, the owner's actually on the line, but he owns a manufacturing company, and we've been able to pivot during this whole COVID-19 and manufacture face shields, provide PPE for the healthcare and medical workers, grocery stores, warehouse workers. So I think this is a great time to be innovative, do some R&D, think about what you can do in the landscape today.
Yeah, so thanks for bringing that up. We know a lot of brewing companies are now making hand sanitizers, right? So they're pivoting as well. That's a big change from brewing beer to making hand sanitizer. That's good. I think that's smart for a lot of entrepreneurs to kind of take advantage on some of these things, which is good. Because I think we do need entrepreneurs to do even more as we come out of this, as I said before. But I was thinking, I know that prior to the home safety order that we have, and now the trend of working remotely, that's what's happening. Maybe you can give us some examples, and I think it'd be good if maybe you can help us, because I know you have a deck I wanted to share, and we can do that as well. Maybe you can just kind of give us some of the criteria that you see. So this is the part where we kind of talk about some of the solutions for video conferencing, what's out there, what's available for these businesses to use, maybe the good and bad about that, if you can share that.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Thank you.
Prior to COVID-19, if those that know me know I travel pretty much every week, so always on a plane. Having those face-to-face at conferences, meetings, and whatnot. When the Bianca put up the poll earlier in the call, I was one of the ones that selected every day, multiple video calls, right? And
that's great.
Let's see.
There we go.
So I'm just gonna show this really quickly. These are kind of the platforms available. As you guys look at this, some stick out. Zoom, we're on a Zoom call right now. GoToMeeting, WebEx. Did you know Amazon had a platform? Join Me. Google has one, Meet, right? So these are all the kind of the platforms out there. I'm sure we've used some, if not all of these, and there's actually dozens more, right? They all work. Some work better than others, but
that doesn't help us, Roger. That's very nice of you. I'm
not trying to sell.
Here.
So I do full disclosure. We actually do represent one of the vendors on here.
Oh, who do you represent?
We Intermedia, any meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
We represent any meeting. Okay.
That's okay.
So just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
One of the great things that these platforms are doing right now is they offer a freemium service, or they're offering free trials. So to what Kelly said earlier, she's kind of used everything over the years, right? Mm-hmm. This is an opportunity to actually kind of use everything and see what fits best for you. If you need it for collaboration, communication, workflow, sometimes, different platforms do different things. This one, we're on Zoom, right? It can record, so it's available later. But does it transcribe? You're a nonprofit. You have your meetings. Does the secretary need to scribe all that, or do you have a platform that can do that for you, and then the secretary can go back and just kind of pick out what they need? So there's different things you can do with this.
Good point.
Yeah. So try before you buy. Why not? You have nothing to lose.
I would argue that you lose time, but that's
you do lose time. But I think in this this current landscape, we're
we have
for the
a little
most part
bit more of
working
that.
10 to 14 hours a day now, just because there's no sports. I can't go play basketball, which is something I do all the time, but not anymore.
Big shot baller.
But here we're looking at the competitive landscape. These are kind of the four big ones.
Okay.
There's some pricing, what it can do. I'm just showing it. We're, like I said, we do represent any meeting, but choose whatever works best for your purposes.
Yeah.
Couple of business development tips real quickly. Just kind of short on time. One of the big things is understand what platform your customer is using. Why is that important? In the news, even just yesterday, a number of big corporations announced they are no longer using a certain platform, the one that we're currently on. What does that mean? That means if you want to meet with that customer and you send them a Zoom link, they will decline the meeting. So go ahead and try a different platform. They're free right now. Go ahead and use it, see how it works, or find out what they're using and use whatever they're using, right? Microsoft Teams is a great platform. Kelly mentioned Microsoft Teams. It's also great for collaboration. So if you have folks in the field, I don't know if you can see me on the video right now, but I carry a helmet around me with me all the time with a computer attached. You can actually have people in the field with Microsoft Teams integrated, and the supervisor who would normally be out there with you on site can see what you're doing. So when we're talking about collaboration and workflow, what does it look like today? If the guy is no longer next to you because of physical distancing, what other alternatives are there? The last tip I think is really important. I've been on hundreds of calls in the last month. Having a unified communications platform. So as soon as everyone went to a work from home environment, how are you getting your calls? A lot of folks were just forwarding it to personal cell phones. Why is that not the best practice? Because what happens when that employee leaves? The customer doesn't call you anymore. They're calling that person, right? So that data, that IP should belong to the company. And it just makes it more professional when employee at home can pick up a call and it's seamless. It's as if they were in a office environment.
Very good.
In the news, real quickly, Zoom may or may not have been hacked. Information is out there. So from May, June, we're giving away a free gift for you guys on the call. I'll go ahead and extend it to everyone. But if you go ahead and email me, rchan@mayjune.cc, we're going to offer a free one-time dark web scan. And that's just the world we live in now. Hackers don't sleep. They're all up all the time. So something we're happy to do for the ABA membership. So just reach out to me and we'll go ahead and take care of that for you.
Some of you may see already, so thank you for posting that. That's Roger's email. So if you can cut and paste that into your thing, Roger, I hope that's okay. And thank you for making that offer to our members. So this is great. Thank you for that. All right, so let me come back here real quick. Oh, so anyways, we really want to thank you for sharing that with us. Hopefully some of us will get some insights. I'm trying to close this out, but there's a couple of things we want to share with you prior to us closing. First of all, thank you very much for getting on. We want to share a couple of things on here that's been online, and maybe if we can put this also into the chat box as well, if it's not already there. We've been updating our website. If you go /solutions, basically it's resources that can help you during the tools that you can use for your businesses. And sometimes it's good to have a conversation. There's more of the thoughts that you have. So we have a group in LinkedIn, so you can do that as well. But before we just kind of close this out, we know that some of you may feel lost, right? And sometimes it's just so many things to adapt and figure this out. We want to strongly encourage you to talk to your fellow ABA members, really turn to your network itself. and outreach to different entrepreneurs during this time. If you want to just schedule a video call with a friend just to talk and maybe get some advice, I think it's really good to do that. Of course, check in with different community-based organizations out there. Again, the chat box will be available 10-15 minutes after this call. We also want to tell you that we have a virtual happy hour. So this is our attempt. I know we go to a lot of these networking type of event with really no agendas. We're going to have sort of come get your quarter. I can't even say that. Get your quarantinis in your hand. So you bring your own drink, get in front of the chat, and we're going to have a little talk or just to meet people. So we're going to break you up into smaller group. It's not one big session where it's all crowded. We'll break up to smaller groups so you can really have some dialogue. But so that'll be on in 2 weeks. If you want to have some training on video itself, because we do want to see you, I think it's good to have a face-to-face. You want to see other people, people want to see you. We'll give you little tips about that. We'll do a little video chat virtual tip thing next week, I believe on the 21st at 1:30 p.m. So check our website for that. And lastly, you know about the microloans that we're doing. We'll continue to do that. V, Nigo on the call. She'll help you with the LA microloans, the SBA disaster loan, as well as the PPP. But really want to thank you guys for taking an hour to share with us. Hopefully it's at a good time. Hopefully that you find this very valuable. And until we meet again, thank you very much for your time.